The situation can change, and the situation can change rapidly. Road safety is everyone's responsibility. The community, we need to speak up, step in, and we need to stop dangerous behaviour. We need legislation that doesn't impact the majority of drivers, just those ones who act in a criminal way with willful neglect for others. And there's also some really simple tactical stuff that we can do. Anyone who is caught drink driving should have an alcohol interlock fitted in their car at their own expense. Imagine the change in behaviour if you had to explain to your mates why you need to do an individual breath test every time you drive your car. People will think differently, attitudes will change. Another aspect which is really important is lived experience stories. When people have witnessed the impact of a criminal act and the road trauma, when someone is killed or seriously injured, when someone witnesses those stories, they change their attitudes. So victim impact panels are a really good way of getting those stories across to recidivist offenders. So I'm calling for victim impact panels for serious offenders and repeat offenders. Anyone who's caught repeatedly driving at high speed, repeatedly drink driving, must go in front of a victim impact panel. And they need to hear lived experience stories from people who've been impacted by the behaviour that they're doing. That is an evidence-based program that has been proven to work and reduces recidivism by more than 8%. Now that's something we can do straight away. There's no reason why that shouldn't happen straight away. My name's Duncan Wakes-Miller. I'm one of the co-founders of the Road Trauma Support Group in New South Wales. The reason for founding the Road Trauma Support Group was that when a few impacted families who lost a loved one through a criminal act of another person on the road came together, we realised that there was a massive gap in the service support for people who'd gone through this terrible trauma. The legal system, the judicial system were letting everyone down. The public prosecution service was ineffective. Laws are out of date and inappropriate. And there was no one really raising the voice of victims of road trauma. And there was no evidence to support change. So we came together to address these things, fundamentally to address support for people who've had a death of a loved one through a criminal act of someone else, but also to change legislation, educate people, and to provide some research to make change. We very quickly got support from Transport for New South Wales Police, and also the Homicide Victim Support Group. The group is funded primarily from the Transport for New South Wales and New South Wales Government, and they provide us with funding and some support in terms of contacts and how we develop our regional outreach. The statistics paint a dreadful picture. The number of people are dying on the roads in New South Wales is escalating by 30% year on year in the last 3 years. A person dies every day, someone is hospitalised, 2 people are hospitalised every hour in New South Wales. But it's not just the numbers of the seriously injured or the people who are killed. The trauma has a ripple effect through families, friends, communities, and this tears through like a trauma tidal wave. The sudden violent death of a loved one tears your heart out, and I've witnessed that firsthand. And the costs are many faceted. In terms of mental health, there is a significant mental health for close family and friends, the implications around those people when someone is killed. That is a huge burden on men for the period of their lives. This is not about something that happens and then goes away. It impacts people for the duration of their lives. So mental health is a big one. The other one is just the cost, the economics impact of that. Independent research says that it costs New South Wales $9 billion annually. And so there's a big cost benefit by having better legislation and community attitudes changing around road safety. Some of the key legislation points that we're fighting for, the main one really is singular legislation around road crime. The outcomes from the current legislation are just totally inappropriate. My 17-year-old son was killed by a drunk driver who walked free. There was no form of deterrent, there was no form of consequence for his behaviour, and there was no rehabilitation for that offender. And all too often we're seeing road crime treated as a lesser form of crime. When someone kills someone with a gun, it's treated differently from when someone kills someone with a car. There's been legislation around single punch and coward punch laws. We want legislation around road crime, which fits the proportionality of the crime. And also rehabilitation programs so that offenders aren't let loose again on the streets. So here's the thing. How would you feel if the person who killed your son walked free from jail, showing no remorse, even having many opportunities in court to show remorse, with a 12-month driving ban, and drives around your local community with not a care in the world? How would you feel? And that's the situation where many people face in these local communities. We're talking here about vehicular homicide, right? We're talking about people killing people in a car. When Martin Bryant killed 35 people in Tasmania, it wasn't a gun that killed those people, it was Martin Bryant who fired the trigger that killed those people. And when we hear road reporting, a car has crashed, a car didn't make it through the roundabout, it's not a car, it's a driver that kills. And we need to forget this abdication of responsibility. We need to get rid of this language of denial, and we need to talk about it for what it is. We need to call it what it is, which is a willful neglect of human life. It is vehicular homicide, and it needs to be treated as such. The term accident is totally inappropriate. It's inaccurate, and it's got an excuse bolted in. My son was not killed in an accident. An accident is spilling milk on the kitchen table. A drunk driver driving willfully fast, being asked to slow down and then speeding up and then killing my son is not an accident. It's totally inappropriate for people to describe these situations as accidents. They're not. They're crime. It's a willful neglect of human life, and they should be treated proportionally with that crime. If people think that more safer cars on the road are improving the situation, then they're missing the point. The laws are out of date and not fit for purpose. A 5-star ANCAP rating means nothing. The reality of the situation is that humans drive cars, and that's the problem. Attitudes to dangerous driving and impaired driving is getting worse. There's less RBTs, so people are less likely to get caught. More people think it's appropriate to drive dangerously and impaired. And that attitude has changed over the last few years with what's happened in the world. So things are getting worse, not better. And road safety is a big issue. This prevalence around us, thinking around the safe systems approach makes sense, but it misses out the fundamental reality that humans drive cars. And there is an attitude that it's okay to drive inebriated. It's okay to drive aggressively fast, and it's not. And we've got a generational opportunity here to change this and make sure that dangerous driving is seen as a social anathema. And we've done it before. We've done it with things like domestic violence. We've done it with things like violence towards women. Those things are now totally socially unacceptable, and people will speak up and step in if they see that happening. So I urge people to speak up and step in when it comes to dangerous driving and impaired driving. It's not acceptable to have a few beers and see how she goes and drive home. It's not acceptable to show off and drive really fast. It's not acceptable to bung a whole load of mates in the back of the car and drive at speed and show off. It is totally unacceptable, and we need to get everyone to stop this. And we need that to start with the government in legislation. We need to start with the community stepping in and speaking up, and we can do this. Things have changed. I couldn't imagine that anything like this would happen to me, and then it did. The police woke us up in the middle of the night, told me my son was dead at our kitchen table, and it devastated me. and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where to turn to for advice, and now I realise that what we've done in the Road Trauma Support Group is quite amazing, because we can connect people who can help wherever you are. We meet people where you are, and we help people, and if that means helping out finding counsellors for people's kids, or dads speaking to dads, or mums speaking to mums, or making sure that you're on the right track on your insurance journey or your care journey, or providing you with trauma-informed counsellors, then that's what we've managed to do, and it is a phenomenal group. And if you're wavering on the edge of should I get in contact, then I encourage you to try it, and we'll meet you where you are, and we'll help. And if you want to speak to me or other people in the group, you can.